Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, also known as the Nutrition Detective around these here YouTube parts, and we are here with episode 176 in a row. We're going to go over a bunch of fun things today. We're going to go over the liver and gallbladder flush and how what people think they're seeing is not what they think they're seeing, and how it could actually help if you like crapping yourself out for like 2 days straight, Anyway, so let's go into this. Joe has the, let me get my things up here. Joe has the link to the Google Doc, which has all the links for today in it. He specifically asked me for that before the episode, and we got it to him. So here we go. What we're going to go over first, a couple testimonials. I like to cover the testimonials first, so those of you who are new here get to learn about how well this works, because regardless of all the science that everyone can try to throw around, if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. And if the research looks great on something, but it's ruining people, then that's not helpful either, right? We just want what works long term, not what works for a week or a month or even a year and then falls apart like many of these other dietary approaches do. And many of you here have realized that. So let's get into those testimonials. Joe, I think you've already got it shared. Okay, so we're just going to read through these. These are testimonials that were posted on the Love Your Liver Network, or the Love Your Liver program inside the Nutrition Detective Network, if you wanted to be specific about it. That is at members.nutritiondetective.com. I don't put these people's names. You can see their names if you are a private member of the network, and you'll see that this is all legit stuff that I'm pulling up. So here we go. I started this program in May of 2022. I found Dr. Smith by searching long coof. That's the word we use for a certain flu virus that went around a couple years ago. By searching long coof on Twitter. That is what started me on this path. I went to urgent care back in 2020 after I went up a flight of stairs and my heart rate reached my max and took a while to settle down. I got lightheaded and panicked and didn't know what was going on. Don't worry. They gave me a Gatorade and said everything looked normal. The next year or two of my life was complete misery, filled with panic and worry. I was captive to my health. I have since been freed by this program, and I want to share my story. I have always been interested in health, but I probably did some things that contributed to my early downfall, age 29, or made my journey longer. I look at it as a blessing because I have the rest of my life ahead of me now. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to find the truth and save yourself. Whew, lots of us here know that. If I kept living life thinking certain things were good for me and they weren't, who knows where I would have ended up 20 to 30 years from now with all that festering toxicity being kept inside. My fall was hard and fast, but I lived, and now I have these teachings to take with me the rest of my life. That is a very important point about this. These concepts and principles that we are teaching here, you can use for the rest of your life. Whether you do them all strictly all at once is up to you. But you always, what people find in this program is as they get better, and if they start, let's say, slipping with some of the concepts and principles in their daily life, they start noticing they don't feel good. And it's a very easy motivator to go back on. It's not like the giant crashes that you'll hear about, like, let's say, all muscle meat carnivores who eat an apple and they're laid up in bed for 3 days. No, this is more like people eat the things they know they shouldn't eat too many times over too many days, and then they start to feel bad. And they go, I know why this is, because usually as they're eating the food, they go, I probably shouldn't eat this, but I'm going to anyway, and maybe I'll feel bad, and then they end up doing it. So here, continuing. I used to look at it like this. If I have the discipline to take supplements or vitamins while my peers do not, I will be better off for it in the long run. Oh, so many of us think that, right? I took vitamin E, vitamin D, fish/cod liver oil, cheap B complex, etc. for the better part of 6 to 7 years after college. I drank big green spinach smoothies and snacked on carrots all the time. Prior to this, I was born jaundiced, so that's a bad start, right? It's a unfortunate start. We'll put it that way. So we have, where were we? Received several antibiotics and then Accutane for teenage acne, and then was on ketoconazole. That's actually, let me fix that. one of those azole drugs that are so popular today. You know what I'm talking about? The Fenben and the mebendazole. Yeah. And then Accutane for teenage acne, and then was on ketoconazole for dandruff afterwards. I remember telling people I was, quote, allergic to zinc because I used Head and Shoulders once because it irritated my neck and back when I washed it out of my hair. My guess is I was just so toxic that the little bit of pyrithione zinc started to pull stuff out of my skin. That's possible. It could, I mean, it's not exactly, like Head and Shoulders is not exactly a natural shampoo, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it does have zinc in it, so that could have induced a detox. During my long coup fallout period, I was keeping a list of my symptoms. Heart stuff big time, tachycardia, that's fast heart rate, sinus arrhythmia, that's irregular heart rate, about a 40 beats per minute swing, so it's going 40 beats higher to lower, like a 40 degree temperature swing on breathing in and out. 40, what? A 40 beat per minute swing on an inhale and an exhale? That's crazy. Heart beating fast after meals, unable to exercise or walk outside without panic. Panic as in agoraphobia, like being outside in big areas. That's agoraphobia, right? Eczema and dry skin on thighs. Fingers, also had nail pitting on fingers that had eczema. So fingers had eczema and they had nail pitting on that. POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. We have helped Kelsey to fix hers on this. And this gentleman is listing this probably because we helped him to fix it too. So if you have POTS or you know someone with POTS, it's a very, I don't want to say it's a very disabling condition in terms of like, it's like you're constantly fight or flight when it's going on. So if you were like that all the time, you'd be very, very tired. Brain fog, vision problems at night, eye floaters, waking up in the middle of the night to pee, heart racing, worse after alcohol. Dandruff, cracked lips, shortness of breath, teeth clenching and grinding, hair falling, graying, occipital headaches, that's the back of the head, and intracranial pressure, so like a high pressure inside your skull. Eyelid twitching, which is, this is classic intracranial, idiopathic intracranial hypertension is a classic vitamin A toxicity symptom. Eyelid twitching, sensitivity to bright lights and loud sounds, irritability, throat closing sensation, lump in throat, feeling like I have to belch when I don't. Boy, that's probably bile in your throat right there. All of these are 100% gone. Let me have a drink of this is the roasted barley coffee I've been drinking lately. So all of these are 100% gone. They were probably mostly gone in the first few months. But I still had flares. Each flare was not as bad as the one before it, so I just stayed consistent. Coconut water got me through the rough times in the initial 6 months. Potassium and magnesium are in coconut water, and it's low vitamin A. Of the program, it was my get out of jail free card. Over time, I stopped relying on it. Oh, I'll explain that in a sec. Things changed. Now I just use minerals and charcoal. Okay. Coconut water got him through the rough times in the initial 6 months. I tell people this all the time. In the Love Your Liver program, the things that will help you feel the best, the quickest, other than if you can nail your probiotics right, is the electrolytes. What do we consider the electrolytes in this program? Potassium, magnesium, sodium. It's not too hard to salt your food. You just got to get a good salt, not one of these crap pink salts or gray salts or red and blue speckled salts. You want clean, white, sodium chloride salt. You don't want anything else in it. That's it. So salt's easy. Salt's free to taste. Oh my gosh, you guys may not even know these guys on Twitter, the bodybuilding guys on Twitter who are saying to eat like 10 to 15 grams of salt a day or sodium. I don't remember if it was sodium or salt a day. They're going to mess themselves up. I've already seen that play out. I've already seen guys doing 25 grams of sodium a day and they mess themselves up bad. So they're saying, yeah, they look bigger and more. They look like they've got more water in their muscles all day. It's going to end badly. So, yeah, you aren't designed for mega amounts of salt all the time. Anyway, so coconut water. What is that? Coconut water has magnesium and potassium in it, especially potassium. So this was his get out of jail free card. Vitamin A is depleting magnesium. Vitamin A is blocking potassium channels. Vitamin D is depleting potassium. Copper is depleting potassium. too much calcium in your system, which is what vitamin A and vitamin D do, will deplete magnesium. So these things all fit together, and I've got videos on a lot of these things. The toxicities take a while to fix that are causing the magnesium and potassium deficiencies. So what do we start with? Short term, we start with getting more potassium and magnesium. Could be food, could be supplements. Each person has to figure that out on their own. And then over time, as we fix the toxicity, what did this gentleman say? Over time, I stopped relying on it. Oh, we fix the deeper toxicities, and then we see the excessive needs for electrolytes go down. It's cool when it just shows my theories and my approaches like right in people's feedback. So anyway, things change. Oh, they do. Now I just use minerals and charcoal. Here are things I was 100% sure I had at different points. Epstein-Barr. So that's Epstein-Barr virus. I'm just going to add virus here, which is EBV. For those of you who have heard it, the virus that supposedly causes mono. A B1 deficiency from a random Elliott YouTube guy who pushes the type of B1 that is found in garlic. A disulfide 2-sulfur molecule, thiamine. Yeah, they think everything's B1 deficiency, don't they? What does B1 do? B1 binds to aldehydes and can protect you from those aldehydes. We went over that in the which one was that? Was that not the rickets video, the thiamine deficiency video? Joe, I don't know if you remember which one that was. Barry. Anyway, B1 can help. It's binding to aldehydes. When you stop having the excessive aldehyde production due to the bottleneck at ALDH, which we talk about a lot, you don't need the B1 anymore. Magnesium deficiency. Well, you probably had that. Histamine intolerance. Well, yeah, we fixed that. Mast cell activation. Yeah, we fixed that. Low cortisol. Yeah, we fixed that. Vitamin A depletes cortisol. Do you know that they use in Cushing's syndrome, which is hypercortisolism? High cortisol. There's research on it where they give retinoic acid to Cushing's syndrome people, and it brings down their cortisol. So they're giving a form of active vitamin A to people with too much cortisol, and it's driving their cortisol down. So now if you're normal and you're vitamin A toxic, where do you think it pushes your cortisol? Down. Why do you think you hurt? Because cortisol is the strongest anti-inflammatory molecule in your body. Oh, the lectin problem. Yes, vagus nerve dysfunction. I'm not mocking this gentleman for doing this, right? He was out there, like so many of you, trying to find the answers. And everybody's giving him all these different reasons. We've all been through this. I mean, believe me, I went to naturopathic medical school. I've heard all of it. And nobody's talking about root causes. Like a vagus nerve dysfunction, as an example, is a symptom of something else. How did it get dysfunctional? Like, you have to ask yourself, what caused that? Could we probably go into the research and find that toxicities and deficiencies affect the vagus nerve? I bet we could. And if those aren't dealt with, it's really hard to fix. And then when you do fix it, let's say you fix the vagus nerve chemically, we fix the biochemical problems that are causing that to malfunction. Well, you may need to do some like rehab for it to make it work again. Because just like if you broke your leg and you were in a cast for 8 weeks, 3 months, whatever, your leg's not going to work right when it comes out of the cast because it wasn't being used. So same thing can happen with nerves and other things. You got to restart using them more in the right way. You got to retrain them. Okay. Adrenal fatigue. I worked for the guy who wrote the book on it. Gluten intolerance. Yes. And these were all gone now. And these are all things that he thought he had. Okay. General tip for others. I suggest taking notes on everything like it's a college course. I can search later and find out what I wrote. It's better than anything Google would tell me. It's so hard to find good advice these days, but I trust this community and I trust Dr. Smith because he's the only person that has been consistently right and everything is explained in his theory. There are no gotchas. Well, thank you. We get to see that I might have been right again with vitamin A and retinaldehyde today too. So thank you for that. Random things that have improved on this program. I share these because I know for a fact they are related. Reaction time. Example, if I knock something off a shelf, I can catch it 99% of the time. Weird, but I know it's because of this. Male health. Morning wood and general penile health. Dull testicular pain I had for a decade after Accutane is gone. Testicles are now larger. Guys, we fix your problems. You got problems if they're biochemical. I mean, some of them, there's a lot of mental stuff in this. But if you took Accutane or you did like nose to tail carnivore or you did tons of vitamin A supplementation and your stuff's not working, that's what vitamin A does to your stuff, guys. Okay? Things left to improve. Terrible and frequent flatulence. I've had this he's had it his entire life. Okay, well, that's probably still the bile, but at least the bile is staying in the gut instead of going into his bloodstream so much and causing him all the problems that he had before. Chemical tinnitus that gets worse at times. An ENT test showed tons of negative pressure in ears. The hiss seems worse when I'm dumping bile in the middle of the night. Yes, many people, including myself, when I notice I have a bile dump or space weather. And by the way, just for you guys, it's December 10th. If any of you had real trouble sleeping after about, well, for me, in mountain time, I woke up at about 1:30. My phone said, my space weather app said there was a strong flare about an hour before. So 12:30-ish mountain time. I woke up about 1:30. Didn't get much sleep after that. When there's space weather, you dump bile, and oftentimes that'll mess with your sleep. So if any of you had terrible sleep last night and you couldn't figure it out, probably that strong flare that happened. We're one of the few places that talks about space weather in the program. But chemical tinnitus, okay, let me talk about this for a second. He's saying it seems worse when he's dumping bile, and that happens to me too. Yes, I get a little ear ringing when I'm dumping. Absolutely, especially when space weather's kicking up. Chemical tinnitus is the ear ringing that happens because of biochemical stuff. So people ask me, can you fix my tinnitus? And I say, if it's biochemical tinnitus, we probably can fix it. If it is what I call physical tinnitus or mechanical tinnitus, which is where, like, let's say you just were exposed to way too many loud sounds and you damaged the hairs in your eardrum. I don't know that the body can fix those hairs. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. So that's a physically like broken thing. I don't know if the body can regenerate those yet. Okay. Still can't push myself beyond 155 beats per minute heart rate in a workout without feeling a little woozy or lightheaded. I expect this to improve. I no longer have runaway tachycardia though. That's awesome. Forward neck posture. Dr. Smith posted a study on cats somewhere, but I can't find it. Okay. The biggest thing you're going to want to do for forward neck posture is strengthen your scapular depressors and retractors. Forward neck posture comes a lot from your upper spine. It's the thoracic area that's really doing it. And the thing that helps to pull everything back is those muscles on the back of your body. But yes, yeah. What did they call it? I'll try to find that cat study. But yeah, they gave cats vitamin A toxicity, and they called it, I forget what the veterinary term was for it, but the cats got forward head. The cats got forward head from vitamin A toxicity. Look all around you. Do you see forward head toxicity? I mean, forward head everywhere? Yes. Do you ever see cats with forward head, often? I mean, they said this cat they were feeding this cat, I believe it was pork liver. Pork, trash, liver, extra trash. Pork, liver, cat got severe, I forget what they call it, but severe forward head. Wrap up. People who thought I was crazy at first when I, quote, stopped eating carrots are like, quote, wow, you've really turned your health around. I don't feel like I have to tune into every single live stream anymore. I'm able to relax from my cowboy diet and oats. So that's cowboy diet's red meat, typically beef and beans and oats. That's the freedom I think Dr. Smith would want for us anyway. I have the energy and strength to focus on my goals and support the people around me. So that's a pretty cool one. That was long, but that was really cool. And it's showing our concepts and principles. So yes, he's saying he doesn't have to watch the live streams anymore because he understands the concepts and principles. Well, he also went into the Love Your Liver program, which is where you get the concepts and principles in a fire hose as opposed to just getting little trickles of them here. Okay. Another testimonial. So this is Joe, I'm going to say it. I know he doesn't mind. It's Jojo. It's Zen Dog Breath. Yeah. And he was basically disabled from sacroiliitis. He was a mess from sacroiliitis, and we fixed that. So he likes to give us updates on how he's running with the kids in his neighborhood now. Okay. Ran the annual Garfield Gobble today. Our neighbors have a mile fun run family party every Turkey Day morning. Last year, their youngest blew me out by minutes at 5 years old. I was so far behind, I never saw him finish. This year, he is 6 going on 23, and I got to see him finish. He still gets a kick out of outrunning an adult. He turned around to see me catching up 3 times in the first 3/4 miles, poured it on with dad's coaching the last quarter. Goal, I want to race that young man and finish 10 seconds behind him for at least the next 20 years. Never beat him, just make him hear those steps coming. It is not beyond the possible. Sokahovi Lewis Tewanima, I don't know how that name is pronounced, but anyway, took silver in the 1912 Olympics in the 10K. He was considered a POW at an Indian school in Carlisle, Pennsylvania at the time. When he went home to his Hopi family in Arizona, they took the 24-year-old boy for a run. Been years since I read his book. They took him for a 50 or a 100-mile run. All his 50-something uncles and his father crushed him. It was no surprise to him. He was embarrassed for the rest of the world, thinking they had real runners when he knew better. And yeah, I had a 7-month-old pup pulling me with all he could most of the way, so that he had his dog pulling him. I am fine with that. Wait till he adds 20 more pounds. Bet we can shave another 2 minutes off our time. Life is moving. Life is good. Thank you all, everyone. Joe really loves to push us on Twitter. It's great. Thanks, Joe. Okay, so last one. I've been with the Love Your Liver program for exactly 4 years now. When I first joined, I was no longer able to run or weightlift because my body had become so worn down over the years. So let's just I'm going to jump ahead here. She played Division I volleyball. So this is a college athlete, ex-college athlete, no longer able to run or lift weights because her body had become so worn down over the years. The least bit of exercise would completely wreck me. This is common in sick people, toxic people. I never felt endorphins afterwards because I was so toxic. It would just cause me to become irritable and angry afterwards, which I now know as huge bile dumps. I was only huge, or just remember, it could be big. That's true, but it can also be the recipe. What toxicity is in there? And if you combine too much with the wrong recipe, or even if you just have the wrong recipe, or you just dump too much, then you can get the problems. I was only able to do some light walking and at-home exercise videos with no weight, and even then issues would ensue. Fast forward 4 years after meeting Dr. Smith and implementing the Love Your Liver program, I am now back to lifting and exercising almost daily. I even have enough energy to go for long walks after doing an hour in the gym, something I haven't been able to do since before college. Now, here comes the best part. Despite being a college athlete, played Division I volleyball, I have never been able to do a pull-up. I took birth control in college, which severely messed me up. Ladies, moms, dads, do not let your kids go on birth control. I don't care. I don't care what justification you try to have it. You are possibly, unless they know about me and you want to have to fix the damage. You know, they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You put your daughters on birth control. And men, if you ever take that male birth control, oh, goodness, you're going to be jacked up. But anyway, don't let your daughters take birth control. Unless you want to ruin their health for potentially the rest of their lives. Or you want to have them fix it here after they figure out that we have the fix. So it severely messed her up and affected her strength level. Since starting LYL, that has gradually changed, and even more so since taking the birth control homeopathic detox therapy. We talk about that in the program. We give the whole how to do it in the program. And we can help you get the remedies because they're only sold to practitioners. Well, for the first time last week, I did my first pull-up. It was something I thought I would never do, especially after having kids. So ladies doing pull-ups. Let me give some applause for that. Also, as an added bonus, I was diagnosed with arthritis in 2016 at 28 years of age in my right knee. In December of 2022, I saw another doctor who came back and said no arthritis was found in that knee. Following the Love Your Liver program cured her arthritis. I saw my mom struggle with it her whole life, and I have been able to reverse it through following this program. I had only been doing the program for 2 years at that point, too. Very nice. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. So the next thing we got, Joe, I'm going to switch over to the Twitter link now. Well, those are pretty cool testimonials, right? Where like we are giving people their lives back. That's what we're doing. For the people out there, the haters who are saying we're doing things wrong, I don't know how you continue spewing the nonsense. It's not a fad. 4 years. 4 years. We got people on this and we're fixing them. You guys are grasping at straws. It's really, you could just give in and get better yourselves too. You could stop being angry that you picked wrong. We all picked wrong before this. And now we're here and we're fixing things. So let's get into Twitter now. Okay, so some of you may have seen this. Let me make it a little bigger. Okay. I posted this to Twitter yesterday and I posted it to the Love Your Liver Network, and I just want to say it here so that everybody can see it and hear it as much as we can. So I'm just going to read it as it is. To all of Kelsey Kenny 144s, that's her Twitter handle, Turanian Treasures Etsy store customers in regards to her store and unfulfilled orders. Kelsey was overwhelmed with the success of the store because she does make such great products and because I was telling everybody about them and you guys were really ordering a lot. And due to her own personal challenges in recent months, she was unable to keep up with production and order fulfillment. She is beginning to process customer refunds as she is able, including to those who are past Etsy's 100-day refund window. So if you were past the 100-day refund window, she is still going to be working on getting you your refund. We both apologize for this happening, and Nutrition Detective, our supplements here, we are working diligently on making her amazing products available again through our store. We're almost done with the zinc niacinate salve, and we have many others in the pipeline. I just posted today on Twitter about how we are working on bringing back her niasoda. We're going to have a plain version, which is just triple buffered niacin, so it's going to be buffered with a mixture of sodium bicarb and potassium bicarb and magnesium carbonate, just like the original niasoda was. She's going to do her, well, she's given me the recipe for, I've been working on it. The normal niasoda, and then she's going to be doing the niasoda black, which has some added charcoal. So we are going to do her products through our store because it was just too much for her to have so many orders and so many products and the labeling and the shipping and all that stuff. So yeah, so we're going to be bringing those out again. So there's no need to email her or contact her about this. She is going to be going through the Etsy store and getting back to you and sending you the refunds. Okay. If she needs to get in touch with you, she'll get in touch with you. So we have that. Now, I wanted to go over Mike Roberto or Mike Roberto. Let me show you his handles right there. Mike Roberto. He's been doing amazing work on Twitter and he says we text and chat and stuff, and he says he is absolutely overwhelmed with research that he's finding about how bad vitamin A is. It's like the floodgates are opening, and we've been surfing this for 6 years now, and we're getting people better. And now the research is coming out as people are tending to say on Twitter a lot. They're saying I was right again. They're like, oh, you were right again, and you were right again, and you were right again. And I'm kind of sitting here being surprised, happily surprised, and going, that's really cool when the research is coming out and saying this. So Mike found something that seemed to back up what I'm saying. So I was just quote tweeting it, but retinaldehyde is we're going to talk about. Retinaldehyde is what nobody talks about. They talk about retinol, which is mainly the storage form. That's how you store it in your liver and your body fat. And then it turns into retinaldehyde, and then it turns into retinoic acid. And it gets more toxic as it goes. But you want to know one of the things that retinoic acid will cause problems with? This is Accutane. This is Retin-A. This is, if you just make retinoic acid out of it, it actually inhibits ALDH, which is what breaks down aldehydes. So if you can't break down aldehydes, they just grow. You just accumulate them. So you're not making retinoic acid so much, but you're building up retinaldehyde. I talk about this over and over. I show, oh my gosh, I was just going through, probably the next show is going to be on black seed oil. And gosh, thymol and thymoquinone in black seed oil, guess what detox pathway they inhibit? Oh, it's ALDH. That's so weird. So let's get into this now. Okay, let me make that a little bigger if I can. Here we go. So I'm just going to read it until I make my comments. So Mike's saying, want to make more marbled fat. I'm sure that's what he means. Or either make marbled fat or make more marbled fat is what I'm sure he meant to say. Just take more vitamin A. At least that's what happened in this new study on sheep. But a very interesting thing transpired. Because, okay, so first remember, in any vitamin A study that ends up going bad, what they're going to do at the very start of the studies, they're going to explain that vitamin A is good and necessary. And it's really, you really, really need it. But our study made it look bad. Okay. So they divided newborn sheep, a Chinese study divided newborn sheep into 4 groups to be injected during the neonatal, that's like, early life newborn period. So they had a control group, which got corn oil injections, right? Toxic in its own right. Corn oil is yellow. What do you think makes corn oil yellow? Corn's yellow. Corn oil is yellow. Gosh, do you think it's vitamin A? They have a vitamin A group. I'm guessing that means retinol palmitate is what they probably gave them. They have a retinoic acid group, which usually means all trans retinoic acid. We call it the active form of vitamin A because that's what they say it is. You don't need it, but it is the quote unquote, this is what they say you need from vitamin A to do stuff. Okay. And they had a vitamin A plus this SU5416 group, and SU5416 blocks blood vessel formation, angiogenesis. So it blocks angiogenesis. They found that injecting vitamin A was by far the most effective at increasing intramuscular fat, aka marbling, like marbled beef. Not crazy surprising from what we in the community know. Injecting vitamin A was the most effective at increasing muscular fat. Let's review real quick here. Retinol, vitamin A, retinol palmitate, retinol. Retinol palmitate is retinol bound to a palmitic acid, a free fatty acid, and they put them together. Where do we store vitamin A? It's fat soluble, right? Which really you should think of it as fat storable. So they're putting more of a fat storable toxin in, and the body made more fat to store it in. What do you think fatty liver is then now? Why do you think livers... Go look up pictures of fatty liver. What color are they? They're yellow. Go look them up. You take like that burgundy red of a liver and you turn it this sickly yellow. Okay, so here let's go. But here's what is crazy. Injecting retinoic acid did not have this effect. Different toxins have different effects. Right? This surprised them because retinoic acid is considered the active form of vitamin A. And then Mike came up with a few possibilities. Retinaldehyde itself might be the active compound doing this. This would explain why vitamin A worked, since it gets converted to retinaldehyde, but retinoic acid didn't, since retinoic acid is downstream of retinaldehyde. Okay, so let me just give you a little detox knowledge here. So retinol and retinaldehyde can go back and forth. That the ADH, alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme, is reversible. They can go back and forth. Retinaldehyde to retinoic acid. This is one way only. It only goes to retinoic acid. It cannot go backwards. So once you have it as retinoic acid, it can't go backwards. But ALDH is the most common, it's the most important detox enzyme. And it's the one that everything inhibits, including retinoic acid itself. So these mice, were they mice, right? Or were they rats? Sheep. So over time, if they gave those sheep enough retinoic acid, it would have inhibited ALDH, and then they would have started gaining weight from the vitamin A they were being fed anyway. Okay. So Mike says, perhaps retinoic acid is still at work, but a more steady conversion process matters more, and the body needs to control metabolites itself. Oh, I got to find Mike's other post now, too. There could be other mechanisms or metabolic pathways that absolutely nobody understands. Totally possible. We only really care about the outcome, right? You only need to know the outcome. He says here, NutriDetect, often talks about the possibility that retinaldehyde is the chemical doing a lot of the nasty work, and this study makes it seem like a serious possibility. Some statistics from the study. Retinol/vitamin A treatment increased intramuscular triglyceride content to 41.43 micromole per gram, compared to 22.71 micromole per gram in control animals. The math, it's almost doubled. twice as much fat in the muscle. Like fat in the muscle is like, it's like morbid obesity levels. That's just, it's so much worse for you. That's such a bad sign. The number of intramuscular adipocytes, so fat cells, nearly doubled in the vitamin A group. So the body made twice as many fat cells to store this toxin. So it almost doubled the content of intramuscular fat, and it almost doubled the number of fat cells. These effects were almost completely blocked when they gave the angiogenesis inhibitor, SU5416. So if the body couldn't make them, that means it got blocked. Does that mean these sheep were any healthier? Probably not, because then the body wasn't able to make storage areas for it. Okay. The third bullet point above hints at an interesting mechanism. Vitamin A didn't directly cause fat accumulation. Instead, the researchers state it triggered a series of changes. So the researchers are making up a story to fit what they saw. First, vitamin A led to blood vessel formation or angiogenesis in the muscle tissue. Wait, let's talk about this for a second. What is one of the things that oncology, cancer doctors, what is one of the biggest things they try to stop happening in tumors? They try to inhibit angiogenesis, do they not? That's weird. Vitamin A increases angiogenesis to fat cells, which store toxins. And here we believe that cancer is toxin storage. So does it make sense that vitamin A probably increases angiogenesis to tumors as well? These new blood vessels allowed for the development of new fat cell precursors, pre-adipocytes, so like baby fat cells, right? They're before fat cells. These pre-adipocytes then developed into mature fat cells within the muscle. They proved this mechanism by using a drug to block blood vessel formation. In group 4, in that group, they didn't see the extra intramuscular fat, so it showed that blood vessel formation was a key part of this. The researchers do note the instability of retinoic acid. If nothing else, even if you're pro-vitamin A, you do not want to just supplement or inject yourself with its metabolites. Same goes with vitamin D3 in Mike's humble opinion. Create a healthy environment, provide sunshine, meats, zinc, protein, movement. Let your body do the work. Stop turning yourself into a marbled sheep. And here is the study if you care to look it up. Actually, I'll put, let me open this up, and I'll put the link in the chat for those of you who want to see it. It comes out as a Twitter link, so I got to turn it into something else. Here we go. And then Joe, I'll send it to you too. There you go. Okay. So we got that. Actually, I wanted to go into another one of Mike's posts. He's been posting such amazing stuff lately. Let me find... Oh, he did this one. Actually, let me go back and let me put Mike's tweet links in the chat too. Here we go. There's that, Joe. There's that. So you guys can, I'll just do the Twitter links. If you need to, folks, if you're not on Twitter, just make an account. Follow me. Follow Mike Roberto. Follow Will Neville. Follow Chris DeVogt. These are some of the big guys putting out a lot of stuff in, all in line with what we do. And yeah, Mike's been posting just crazy stuff lately. Okay. Yeah, so we'll just hit on a couple of his posts. Yeah, Will just posted his Twitter link in the chat. I'm just going to cover this real quick. I'm not going to read it as much as I did the other thing. New study, more vitamin A and beta-cryptoxanthin, more skin cancer. Where does your body store vitamin A and carotenoids? It stores them in your skin and your subcutaneous body fat, in your body fat in general, and in your liver. Why does vitamin A create skin cancer? Because when the sun hits it and oxidizes it, which is part of the detox pathway of vitamin A, it's just because I say detox, it just means it's moving it down the pathway. It doesn't mean it disappeared. Okay? Just like if you have oxidized paint on a sign, That doesn't mean the paint disappeared. It got oxidized. So it lost its color. Okay. 52,877 women followed for 18 years. Some people out there are like, epidemiology studies are totally worthless. And I'm like, oh my goodness. You know what's totally worthless is all the cell studies that you guys are based, that so many of those people are basing their science on. Okay, we have real people here for lots of years. You can't have a metabolic ward study with 50,000 women for 18 years, where they basically would put them in jail. And then they'd watch everything they do. They'd be measuring their poop and everything. Okay. What he found: first, vitamin A had no protective effect against melanoma. None. Not from diet, not from supplements. Then let's look at non-melanoma skin cancer. Here, higher vitamin A intake was actually associated with increased risk. 12% higher risk with high dietary vitamin A, 22% higher risk with high beta-cryptoxanthin, a pro-vitamin A. It turns into retinol or retinaldehyde. This wasn't just a simple correlation. The researchers controlled for sun exposure, skin type, prior skin cancers, education and income, and smoking status, and the association still held up. Beta-carotene and alpha-carotene also had increased chances in the age-adjusted groups. So, you know, really Tan Man on Twitter pushes that to get a tan, you have to eat lots of vitamin A, which is true, because our tans are like 10% of what they used to be when we were more toxic. People stopped getting sunburned. Somebody actually posted pictures of themselves in the Bahamas, and he's like, I used to get horribly burned, and he didn't get burned at all. So we see tanning go down. We see sunburns almost disappear. And then so I'm going to explain this. Let me explain vitamin A and skin cancer. Okay. So so sunscreen cause skin cancer. Yes. Can the sun cause skin cancer? Yes. Okay. Where do we collect vitamin A close to the skin? In the skin and the subcutaneous body fat. We have studies showing that when they added vitamin A to sunscreen, the mice got tumors bigger, faster, and more than the rats who didn't get vitamin A in the sunscreen. So more vitamin A on the skin means more skin cancer. Okay? We just see this study. Higher risk with more vitamin A consumption, including carotenoids. So not just retinol, carotenoids. The pattern is there that the more vitamin A you have in your skin, the more skin cancer you're going to get. Why is this? Because it's oxidizing into a more toxic form and it's causing damage. And what does your body do with toxins? It tries to store them if it cannot get rid of them. So it creates tissue for them. That is what cancers are. That is what cysts are. That is what fibroids are. That is what all of these growths are. They are toxin storage. That's why your body's making more tissue. You must first, if you want to do this work, you must first believe that your body is intelligent and gloriously designed. And it is going to do the best it can. Your body is not making cancer to try to kill you. Somehow, whatever you were exposed to, whatever you did, whatever you ate, whatever you put on your skin, it's all the combination of all of it. Things your parents did. If you were born jaundiced, things your parents did helped screw you up. The jabs you got, the meds you've taken, all of it correlates. All of it contributes, I should say. So, cancer is tumors, cancer, cysts, fibroids. We've been over it on the episode 71. I went over how fibrocystic breast disease is storing bile. So, we see these correlations because vitamin A is part of skin cancer. Now, what about sunscreen? So remember how I told you the sunlight can help to oxidize, which is part of breaking down or detoxing vitamin A. It's part of it. Okay. Are sunscreens toxic? We all know this. Yes, they're absolutely toxic. They can find every single major chemical of a sunscreen that you put on your skin in your bloodstream 24 hours after you put it on. You can find all those chemicals in your bloodstream within 24 hours. If you put it on your skin, it's almost as good as putting it in your mouth. So don't put things on your skin that you wouldn't put in your mouth. Next, Are those sunscreen chemicals probably carcinogenic? Yeah. Okay, so what do you think happens now if we know that vitamin A is in the skin and subcutaneous fat, and then you put on toxic sunscreen over the skin, and you've got vitamin A underneath your skin? So now even the detox that the sun might do for the vitamin A that's in your skin and oxidize it and move it through the detox pathway so you could eventually, hopefully, get rid of it. That's not even happening anymore. So now you're accumulating even more vitamin A in your skin. And you're putting toxins on your skin that you're absorbing into your bloodstream. Okay? So they both can be true. Do we need sun? Yes. Yes. Is it for the vitamin D? Probably not. Vitamin D may just be a distraction molecule that they've obsessed about. Do we need sun or UV light? Yes. Am I bought into vitamin D as the way that the health from the sun is made in the human body? No, I don't buy that at all. So, let's see. Oh, here. They're lying to you. They are directly lying to you because they don't want to lose their grants, these researchers. And Mike added, of course, the researchers, a team out of Stanford, can't actually be honest about the results in their conclusion. They only conclude total vitamin A intake was not associated with lower risk of CM or NMSC, which are the cancers. I don't know if he put those as non-melanoma skin cancer and skin cancer. That's what it was. Or, yeah, must be cancer, melanoma. Anyway, but won't say the simple truth that vitamin A is associated with more cancer. And there was one more about, let me find, I got to go on his thread again, his profile again. He's really, you gotta put Mike on your follows. He's just been posting just amazing stuff. Oh yeah, this is it. I wasn't planning on going over all these, but I guess I am. Let me put this over here. Got that. And then this for Joe. And then here we go. So a retinol tracer study teaches us how much vitamin A gets used each day. Oh gosh, Will, I'll have to go over that one too. This is going to be like the Mike Roberto review show. He's seriously telling me, he's like, I can't even keep up. And he's posting like a big one of these each day. Okay, so how much vitamin A gets used each day in the body. This study used a semi-accurate measurement technique called retinol isotope dilution, RID. This has been used in some of the papers that we've been over to estimate total body vitamin A stores. They give Ghanaian, I know it's Ghanaian, I'll just say Ghanaian women, a known amount of labeled vitamin A using deuterium atoms as tracers, and then measured how much shows up in the blood over time. The labeled vitamin A mixes with existing vitamin A stores, and you watch what happens. First, how many were estimated to be toxic and deficient? Remember everybody, Bill Gates and the World Health Organization and everybody else is telling us that these third world countries have horrible vitamin A deficiency, and we need to give them supplements and help them with like bioengineered bananas that make vitamin A and bioengineered sweet potatoes that make even more vitamin A, and rice. Oh, they need rice. They need golden rice. What's actually going on? I don't know if you remember in my vitamin A deficiency is a worldwide epidemic thread on Twitter. I think I did it on here too. Back in the 1950s, 50% of the autopsies they did in their studies on vitamin A toxicity, 50% of them were vitamin A toxic. 50% of the people, by definition, by the gold standard test, were vitamin A toxic in the 50s. What do we have now? Not a single woman had vitamin A deficiency per this method. Not a single one. Their total body store estimations range from 252 to 3,848 micromoles. And estimated liver concentrations range from 0.2 to 2.73 micromoles per gram. If I remember correctly, I'd have to check the thread, but I'm pretty sure that vitamin A toxicity in the liver starts in those units. I'm pretty sure it's 0.9 something, 0.963 or something, which is where vitamin A toxicity starts. So that means anybody above that was toxic. He says, looking at figure 4, we can estimate about 16 subjects were in toxicity state out of 89 women. That's 18% toxic. I'm going to bet it's a lot more than that. But that's not even why we're here. Our idea isn't that great at calculating total body stores. They didn't do the actual liver biopsy. They're still estimating. More importantly, the study revealed some fascinating details about vitamin A metabolism. Each vitamin A molecule recycled through the blood about 37 times before being used up. And he put the thinking emoji. What's it going through the body 37 times for? It took about 30 days for vitamin A to cycle between storage and blood. That's a long time. Get this. The body only used about 1.3 micro, that's 10 to the negative 6 micromoles per day. That's, as he says here, that's micromoles. That's so tiny. Additionally, per their estimations, the average woman has about 2 years worth of vitamin A in storage. 2 years stored in their bodies. Does this sound like something like, are people running out of it? This is nearly exactly what we in our community say. Yeah, we tell people, how long do we tell people we really need to kind of detox your vitamin A stores? 2 to 3 years if you're normal. Am I right again? Go watch the timeline of vitamin A detox that I did with Grant Genereux. And we're talking about 2 years. I think at that point I was saying maybe 3. Although in the West it's likely higher, we're fatter, worse metabolizers, get less sun, and have somehow possibly been medicated and fortified even worse. Well, there is the little difference of potentially those with very dark skin are not going to break down vitamin A as well either, because they have a natural blockage from breaking those things down. But the big question here is, why is a molecule cycling 37 times before actually being used? Is it being used, or is the body that careful or inefficient with its metabolism, and some poor cell finally just takes one for the team and gets smacked by the retinoic acid? Again, the body uses 1.3 micromoles per day, an absurdly tiny amount. So why are you supplementing and ingesting milligrams worth of it? Meanwhile, I'm not sure what the women of Ghana are eating, but when nearly 1 in 5 of your women are estimated to be toxic and nobody's deficient, you're over-fortifying. We already knew that, though. Once again, if you have years of something in your body and it's very tough to metabolize and it's proven harmful in excess and it's floating around your body for over 3 dozen trips, you probably don't need to go out of your way to ingest any more. If anyone wants, we can dig into the retinol isotope dilution technique in terms of measuring total body stores, but overall, it's only kind of maybe sort of accurate. The tracing here is what's an epic learn. Man. Okay, I want you to think about this. 1.3 micromoles could just be measuring inaccuracy. That could just be a loss in the measuring process. They just couldn't account for it. You know how like the Pentagon will like lose like $3 trillion and they don't know where it went? Do you think that doing this process, they could maybe lose 1.3 micro? I mean, are they even really that accurate at measuring it? First, can they really accurately get down to 1.3 micromoles? Maybe they can. But could it have been lost somewhere else? Maybe it went somewhere they didn't know where to find it, or they didn't know how to get it out, or whatever. I'm just saying that could be a measuring error somehow. And that would mean we need none of it. Yeah, Will, thanks for reminding me about the let's go find the baby study. Where is it? Oh, this was a great one. He's so good lately. Monkeys are now getting, quote, solar dermatitis, a sunburn, from, get this, chronic exposure to ultraviolet. Unsurprisingly, supplementing vitamin A and omega-3 didn't improve the situation. Why would monkeys, like in zoos, right? Why are they getting sunburns? Why would do monkeys in the wild get sunburns? Probably not. So what's happening to these monkeys that they're building up, let's say, I don't know, vitamin A and PUFAs in their skin. Oh, you posted the link? Okay. Here, let me get this. Hold on, let me just get this ready for the next one. Thanks, Will. Wait, back here. Okay. So what are they probably doing to these monkeys in captivity? They're probably injecting them with things and giving them medications so they don't get sick or spread sickness among other monkeys. And they're giving them probably some sort of crap multivitamin, which definitely will have vitamin D in it and vitamin A and copper and manganese and all the other trash you don't need. So Mike will say, I'll admit the sun seems stronger than it once was. Yes, it definitely does. But I'm pretty sure monkeys are equipped to get plenty of UV, but now they have to give them SPF 50 sunscreen. Your sun sensitivity, your easy burning, and your tanning is vitamin A toxicity. So there's that one. Yeah, they didn't show any. Oh, they gave him ferrocoxib. Anyway, there's that. Oh, not that one yet. This one. Okay. Another paper. Here we go. There's that one. And there's this one. So yeah, again, I'm making sure I'm giving all credit to Mike on this research. Like, I can't keep up with the research anymore, and Mike is doing it, and I'm going to give him all the props in the world. So all the vitamin A deficient babies in this new study were healthy. Researchers studied 1,900 mother-baby pairs in China, examining serum blood vitamin A levels, which we've been over before, are trash, in newborns and their mothers. Results, a massive 88.85%. So almost 90% of the newborns had deficient serum vitamin A levels below 0.70 micromoles per liter, which would be considered deficient in adults. Yet, all of these babies were healthy. None of the so-called classic symptoms of vitamin A deficiency, like night blindness, eye problems, or poor growth. So the researchers are now wondering what a better threshold for babies are, because this is leading to unnecessary vitamin A supplementation, because it was never a vitamin. Regardless of your take on the subject, this is good. Things are moving in the right direction. This study moves the goalposts in a good way. Some notes. The babies had lower vitamin A levels than their mothers because they have better livers, generally. Mother's average was 1.062. Newborn's average was 0.49. 23.36. So a quarter of the mothers were below 0.7, and 90% of the newborns were below 0.7. And they're fine. They're not showing vitamin A deficiency problems. The placenta carefully regulates how much vitamin A reaches the baby. The placenta is also called another liver. I've been calling it that for a long time. The placenta is a third liver during pregnancy. You should never eat the placenta. You throw it in the trash. You can do the long waiting to clamp. Absolutely. Get the blood out of the placenta, get the stem cells out of the placenta into the baby. Throw the placenta in the trash. It is a toxin storage site. It is an extra liver for pregnancy. Why were the babies lower in vitamin A than their mothers? Because the placenta took the hit. The placenta takes a toxic hit for you because it's not going to live. It's meant to die, not for people to eat it again. And Mike just added, long story short, if nothing else, vitamin A deficiency thresholds need to be significantly reduced for babies so we stop overdosing them with unnecessary food and supplements. But eventually this moves us closer to the thought that vitamin A deficiency is complete and utter BS, and none of this is necessary at all, so long as protein and zinc are eaten by mom and baby. These Chinese moms, I'm going to guess that a lot of them did not get enough protein or zinc, also known as muscle meat. So we got that. Now, And remember, you can always search for my tweets if you want to find them if you don't have the link. So now this is going to be real quick. I'm not going to read this all the way through, I don't think. People were asking me about my brisket recipe that I kind of bragged about a little bit. Here we go. Oh, David did a calculation. David Hagerson, David's super helpful. 1.3 micromoles of retinol that get, quote, used per day is equivalent to 376 micrograms of retinol per day, compared to the US RDA being 900 micrograms per day for men and 700 micrograms per day for women. So they're saying the RDA is 900 and only 376 micrograms are getting used. So even if that was true, which I honestly don't believe it, even if that was true, or maybe the body was able to break down that small bit. Anyway, whatever. That means by definition, the RDA would be making you toxic because you're taking in more than you're using. And it accumulates because it's fat storable. Okay, so anyway, this was the I think I put that link up there. Yeah. So it's just this is a brisket recipe. You can click on the link in the document, the Google Doc that Joe I think put the link up for in the chat. And then you can also just find this if you search my thread, my threads for apple brisket. Anyway, yeah, it's just a crock pot brisket recipe with apples and apple juice in it, and my kids loved it. And yeah, so it's all there. I'm not going to read through the recipe. Okay, so now let's get to the big thing of the day. First of all, I'm going to hit, Brace says, always getting it done, Dr. G. Thanks. You are welcome. Yeah, enjoy the recipe. And yeah, I did steal that picture from another website. Whatever. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, first, I'm just going to go over one quick thing about gallbladders. For you folks out there who have had your gallbladder removed, which is mostly women. Not all women. Not all women. Mostly women. Oh, wait. Joe just sent me a message. Oh, I got to zoom. Okay, yeah, I'll zoom. So, or Naxalt. Okay. First, if you don't have a gallbladder, people will ask me, I'm just going to go over this real quick. If you don't have a gallbladder, they say, what do I do? What do I change in the program? What do I do? You do the program as normal. However, because you don't pump out a lot of bile at once, your bile comes out as a trickle instead of a gush, right? You don't have a bag holding bile to squeeze all at once. Your bag is gone. So just figure that, you know, the gallbladder, the tube to the gallbladder is just gone. And there's no gallbladder. So the bile that the liver makes just goes down into your intestines. So it's like a trickle all day. It's like the gallbladder would be like if you wanted to try to wash dishes, right? A sink full of water, like a gallbladder, makes it easier to wash dishes all at once. Whereas if you're trying to wash dishes and you don't have a gallbladder, that's like your sink is dripping and you're trying to wash dishes with a drip because you don't have the plug in the sink. Right? So what do you do? There's only a couple things that you do. If you're going to take fiber or if you're going to take any supplements, it's better to, this includes fiber, charcoal, any kind of binder, food in general, and especially fatty foods, or if you're adding extra fat, which those of you without gallbladder sure already know that you got a problem with excess fat, and that's why you got a gallbladder problem. So you need to spread out your food more in the day and spread out your supplements more in the day and spread out your binders more in the day to match your bile flow. Right? You'll hear me talking here about when people have like a big bile dump, maybe they take a glass of charcoal because they dumped it all at once. Well, for you folks who don't have a gallbladder, you don't tend to dump as much all at once. So you would want to spread out. If you were doing charcoal, let's say, spread it out in little doses more through the day. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. However, people were designed to have gallbladders for a reason, and that was to dump bile with food. So if you don't have that, I'm sorry. I didn't do that. This is how you can match things to your bile flow better. Okay. So now we're going to head into this. First of all, for anybody who has done liver and gallbladder flushes, I learned about them probably in naturopathic medical school or before. The gist of them is you're going to not eat or eat very little for a certain period of time. Then you're going to, there's different ones where they have different juices. Some of them are grapefruit juice and apple juice, or some of them are full fasting, and some of them are just like no fat fasting. And then you're going to drink some mixture or separate amounts of olive oil and Epsom salts, trying to induce a bile dump with the fat, and then to induce a laxative effect with the Epsom salts. So you are trying to do a bile dump, right? You fast for 12 hours-ish, so you store up bile. Then you take something that dumps bile, squeezes the gallbladder, that's the olive oil, and then you take something that's a laxative with it, which is the Epsom salts, magnesium by mouth, magnesium sulfate. And that's it. And then you just shit your brains out for like a day or two. And then things come out in your poop, which is what we're going to go over. These things in a liver and gallbladder flush, I don't care what Andreas Moritz says. I'm going here, and no one from the alternative community is doing analyses on these quote unquote stones, which they're soap stones is really what they are. They're not doing analysis on these stones to show that they're actually gallbladder stones. And as we're going to go over in this, when they look at people who have liver or gallbladder stones after they do these cleanses, they see the stones are still there. So, now could you feel better from doing this? People feel better from coffee enemas. What does a coffee enema do? The coffee induces a bile dump, and then the enema makes you crap your brains out. A liver or gallbladder flush is you store up a little bile, you take something that induces a bile dump, and you take something that induces explosive diarrhea, and then you've dumped some bile. Is there also a placebo effect of people convincing themselves that this liver flush is pushing out stones? Yes. They're not stones. We're going to go over that. This has been proven in multiple papers. So this is a paper from The Lancet. When was this? 2005. I'm going to go through these whole papers because they're both very short. A 40-year-old woman was referred to the outpatient clinic with a 3-month history of recurrent severe hypochondrial pain after fatty food. That's basically in the liver area. Okay. Like so under the bottom of the right rib cage. Abdominal ultrasound showed multiple 1 to 2 millimeter gallstones in the gallbladder. Okay. 1 to 2 millimeters. You're going to see how big these stones are. They're ultrasounding it. They're saying they're 1 to 2 millimeters. She had recently followed a liver cleansing regime on the advice of an herbalist. This regime consisted of free intake of apple and vegetable juice until 1800 hours, right? So low-fat diet and various juices, but no food, so no fat, followed by the consumption of 600 milliliters of olive oil. That's a lot of olive oil. Holy crap. That's more than half a liter. So that's like, what is that? Like 18 ounces? 20 ounces or something? And 300 mil of lemon juice over several hours. Oh my goodness. That's what an ounce is, like 30 mils, right? So that's like 10 ounces of lemon juice. This activity resulted in the painless passage of multiple semi-solid green stones per rectum in the early hours of the next morning. She collected them, stored them in the freezer, and presented them in the clinic. They have some of these quote-unquote stones right here that she passed. She took a lot of olive oil and a lot of lemon juice. Look at this, is 1 centimeter. They already said, ultrasound said she had a couple of 1 to 2 millimeters. That's 1/10 of a centimeter to 2/10 of a centimeter. Do you see the size of these things? A centimeter. Yeah, they're just passing them painlessly. What a crock. And they've got some of them here. This is like half a centimeter right here. And they've got other ones that go smaller. Okay. Oh, these were these were the ones passed by the person, then surgically removed cholesterol gallstones. So these are surgically removed. These are actual gallstones that they went in and surgically removed. Not even the biggest one is barely half a centimeter, 5 millimeters. These are gigantic, twice as big. Do you think that they couldn't see these giant stones on an ultrasound? Really? Really? Microscopic examination. So they cut these things open and they put them on a microscope. Microscopic examination of our patient's stones revealed that they lacked any crystalline structure. Stones have a crystalline look. Crystalline, you can even kind of see it. These look like globs of soap or globs of fat. These look like more like crystals. They lacked any crystalline structure. They melted to an oily green liquid. They melted to an oily green liquid after 10 minutes at 40 degrees Celsius and contained no cholesterol, bilirubin, or calcium, which is another part of gallstones, by established wet chemical methods. Traditional fecal fat extraction techniques, so that's how they pull fat, they measure fat in poop, okay? Traditional fecal fat extraction techniques indicated that stones contain fatty acids that required acid hydrolysis to give free fatty acids before extraction into ether. These fatty acids accounted for 75% of the original material. She drank more than a pint of olive oil. More than a pint of olive oil. Experimentation revealed that mixing equal volumes of oleic acid, the major component of olive oil, and lemon juice produced several semi-solid white balls after the addition of a small volume of potassium hydroxide solution. Your intestines are alkaline. They added an alkalizing agent. They ate olive oil and they ate lemon juice. They got several semi-solid white balls in the stomach, and then they added a small amount of an alkaline agent, and they got hardened white balls. On air drying at room temperature, these balls became quite solid and hard, okay? We conclude, therefore, that these green stones resulted from the action of gastric lipases, fat-dissolving and fat-digesting enzymes, on the simple and mixed triacyl glycerols that make up olive oil, yielding long-chain carboxylic acids, mainly oleic acid, a free fatty acid that can then bind to things. This process was followed by saponification into large insoluble micelles of potassium carboxylates. Lemon juice contains a high concentration of potassium. Let's not forget potentially magnesium carboxylates, because you just drank however much Epsom salts, or soap stones. And they've been drinking lots of juices, right? Juices are high in potassium. The cholesterol stones noted on ultrasound were removed by surgery. Okay, wait, I just want to be clear here. She does this cleansing protocol. She poops out all these soap stones. They had to later go back in and remove the actual gallstones because the cleanse didn't remove any of them. You're going to see this again. A search of the internet reveals many health websites promoting so-called gallbladder flushing or liver cleansing regimes. Some quote a correspondence letter published in The Lancet on the subject. It was a doctor who wrote an article saying, my wife did a liver cleanse and she pooped out lots of stuff. This is a real scientific doctor. The one-day purge usually consists of an overnight fast, then eating apples in the morning, taking only herbal tea through the day, and then in the evening, a warm mixture of olive oil and fresh lemon juice. It sounds delicious. Oh. I remember reading on the network somebody saying they did this and they projectile vomited some of the stuff they were trying to drink. Patients are then instructed to lie on their right side, although some say the left. It is claimed that the next morning the gallstones will pass in the stool. You're going to crap out something. It's not gallstones. We have shown that these flushing regimes for expelling gallstones are a myth and that the claims made by some are misleading. The appearance of a letter in an establishment journal has been used to legitimize this practice for some time, and the record should now be set straight. We declare that we have no conflict of interest. If you want to read the Lancet letter, it's right there. I'm not linking it because it's a letter. A guy just says, my wife did this and she pooped out stuff. Okay, so now let's go into another one. We have German doctors who did the cleanse, the flush. They had a person do it, and they had their own employees do it. So this is back on this one. So let me find it. I had to translate it from German. Okay. So these are the links. This is the link to the actual original. This is the link to the PubMed. Okay, we have a gallbladder flush lover in the chat. Okay, in the age of, so first of all, for any of you who are supporting liver and gallbladder flushes, and you think you had real stones come out, why has nobody in the alternative community done the analysis? Why isn't anybody doing it? It's not hard to do. People are saying they cut them open. You cut open a stone? Really? They melted it in 40 degrees Celsius and it turned into an oily green puddle? Like, seriously. In the age of ever-increasing availability of medical information via the internet, we are increasingly observing in our daily practice self-diagnosis and self-treatment based on knowledge acquired by patients through internet research. For better or worse, you guys may have found me through internet research. Kudos. But as we all know, there's a bunch of horse shit out there. Made up stuff. Okay. The treating doctor is often confronted with a diagnosis and treatment expectation made using internet knowledge. It is often difficult for a layperson to separate serious and objective medical information from the personal opinions of individual internet authors, or even from charlatanism. Often the provider's economic interests are hidden behind supposed medical information, such as the sale of questionable therapeutic agents. So, I don't believe that these people are making this up. I was just told I was repeating establishment talking points. People drank a crap load of Epsom salts and a crap load of olive oil. And then they're surprised when they're seeing these things form into soapstones. Let's go over this. Let me give you an example from your own experience. Have you guys ever taken a magnesium bath with a good amount of magnesium in it? And then you're washing yourself with soap in the bath, and you get soap, you rinse off in the bath, so the soap's getting into the water. And then you see the gross, like white, floaty, insoluble stuff in the bath. Wow, mixing magnesium. And what is soap made of? Fatty acids, often oleate from olive oil or other oils. So what is fat made of? Fatty acids. What do they take in a gallbladder cleanse? Fat. What are they taking too? Magnesium. What do you see in a bath? Even in a big old bath, when you get the magnesium on the soap and they mix, you get insoluble floating things. You've seen it in your own bath. So, in this context, we present the case of a 50-year-old patient who was referred to us by his family doctor to clarify a massive recurrent gallstone formation. Was it real, though? During the detailed anamnesis. Okay, so this was a cool word. I had to look up this word, so you're going to learn a new word today. Anamnesis means a complete history recalled and recounted by a patient. So that's somebody telling their medical history. Is an anamnesis. So you learned a new word today. The patient stated that since the sonographic ultrasound diagnosis of his asymptomatic, no symptoms, cholelithiasis gallstones by his family doctor, he had been meticulously carrying out a liver cleansing program every 4 weeks to remove his gallstones. So it doesn't say how many times he did it. It didn't say how many times he did it, but he's been doing it for a while now. We can assume he's been doing it for a while, meticulously carrying out a liver cleansing program every 4 weeks. So he's repeated it, not just once, it's at least twice. He had obtained the information on liver cleansing from the internet. There, he found the procedure advertised several times while searching for treatment options for gallstones. The procedure that the patient uses for liver cleansing is described in more detail here. After a 12-hour fast, you're going to see the same pattern here. 12-hour fast, he took 400 mils of olive oil, so less than half a pint, or less than a pint, and 100 mils of grapefruit juice. Grapefruit juice slows detox a lot. Sulfate, magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt, slows detox a lot. This was followed by the application of 100 grams of magnesium sulfate, Epsom salts, in 800 mils of water distributed over an intake period of 12 hours. The application should be carried out in the supine or face-up position, laying down face up. The result of the cleansing program was the painless passage. Why are these always painless? Stones are sharp. Could you see on that other picture how sharp the stones were? You could see little sharp points on them. Those of you who ever passed a kidney stone know kidney stones, crystalline and sharp. The passage of multiple, approximately 100 greenish, yellowish, stone-like structures in the early hours of the next morning. The impressive result convinced the patient of the sense of his approach, so kind of a placebo. He decided that it was working, right? And was repeated every 4 weeks. He photographed the structures and presented them to his family doctor. He was probably very proud. The patient was then referred to our hospital to clarify the massive tendency to form gallstones. Why is this guy forming hundreds of gallstones? Right? And no symptoms. Hundreds of them. And no symptoms. The initial ultrasound diagnosis in our outpatient clinic showed the gallstones described by the family doctor in the same size, shape, and number despite the liver cleansing program. Wait. He'd been meticulously carrying out his liver and gallbladder flush to get rid of the stones every 4 weeks. So who knows how many times he repeated this? And he still had the same gallstones. Do we care about people writing books on the internet, saying stuff about things, or do we actually care if it works? We now have 2 papers on people saying they're doing this flush, and it didn't work for what they thought it was going to do. And it magically produces something on the other end, and they think it's stones. Let me go over another story real quick of mine. This is where I started to realize that most of the alternative medicine world was full of crap too. I was doing, some of you may remember the Blessed Herbs Cleanse. It was a box full of herbs, and there was fiber packets in there that had bentonite in them, and it was a whole package. Like, it was like a $300 pack, and it was a cleanse. And one of the things you were supposed to do, in addition to taking these herbs every day, what they would show on their website was they would show people pooping out parasites and giant worms. And they'd pick them up with like chopsticks, and they'd take pictures of them. They were so proud. Okay. One day I was making the fiber drink, which had some apple pectin in it. It had like bentonite clay in it. It had all sorts of the typical binder stuff. So this was supposed to bind up all the toxins, and then you poop it out. So I had a glass, and I put in hot water, I believe. I can't remember if it was hot water first or cold water first. Either way, we had the water machine that had the hot and cold water. So I put in either the hot or the cold water first. And then I went, oh man, oops, I wasn't supposed to do that. And then I added the other one. So I don't remember if it was hot then cold or cold then hot. It doesn't really matter. And you know what I saw in my glass? Form in my glass from the differences in the water temperature. I saw a thing that looked exactly like the worm that everybody was holding up in all the pictures on their website. And I immediately went, oh my gosh, that's the worm. Those are the worms. It's just the fiber stuff that they're giving people. Reacting with stuff in the gut and forming this like long, it's just gooing onto the sides, and then it's coming out as a string, basically. They went out of business. I don't know why. Maybe they got some letters from the FDA saying those aren't parasites, and you better show that they're parasites, or stop claiming that people are crapping out parasites. And maybe they just decided to bail. Maybe they'd gotten enough money. So I have seen in my experience taking something by mouth that turned into something that then people on the other end are claiming is something else. I've had it. I've seen it. So this is what they did. As the liver cleansing program was initially unfamiliar to us, we carried out an internet search on it and yielded well over 500,000 hits for the praise of such methods. Even some alternative practitioners personally interviewed by the authors praised this method. In the specialist literature, with the exception of a single case report in the renowned specialist journal, The Lancet, there is no evidence-based data on a procedure. That's fine. I mean, we're doing stuff that's not evidence-based. Not worried about that. The figure, actually, let me pull this over here so I can show you the picture. Okay. This is the picture. This is figure 1. Hundreds of these. Hundreds of these. This is what the guy was passing. Okay. So figure 1, stone-like formations, stone-like excreted by the patient after liver cleansing. They should put quotes around liver cleansing. The patient was therefore asked to bring the stones to our laboratory for further analysis after further cleansing. There, they looked at it under a microscope. Further microscopic processing revealed that the structures did not have a crystalline structure. Chemical analyses could not detect cholesterol. Neither bilirubin nor calcium could be detected in these structures. Fatty acids were identified as the main components. Again, well, why would it be the same thing coming out? Because it's the same crap going in, right? Crap in, crap out. The structures can therefore be explained biochemically as saponification, soap, products after ingestion and metabolization of the components of the cleansing program. You just drank like a pint of oil and a quarter, like a half a cup to a cup of juice, and then whatever amount of magnesium sulfate. Under the impression of artificially induced stone formation, so they're thinking that it's artificially induced, that they want to prove it. They're actually going to do real science here. They're going to repeat the process. 3 employees of our clinic declared themselves willing to clean their livers using the procedure described. Gallstones, cholelithiasis, was previously ruled out in all 3 employees by sonomorphology. They gave them an ultrasound. They said, you have no gallstones. There was also no clinical or laboratory evidence of cholelithiasis. So they checked their blood, they checked their poop, they checked their urine, they checked whatever they're going to check for gallstones to see if there's any evidence laboratory-wise or symptom-wise. They had no symptoms. In all cases, the cleansing program also resulted in a massive passage of the products described above. Gosh, what's the same thing that everybody's doing each time? Consequences for clinic and practice. This case report shows that the procedure described does not contribute to the passage of real gallstones. That's what both of these said. The case report may offer clinical colleagues confronted with this problem help against the overwhelming power of internet information. Author's declaration. The authors declare that they have no financial connections with a company whose product plays an important role in the article or with a company that sells a competing product. Oh, so now oh gosh. Well, so guys, Frim Guy 10 in the comments seems to think that I'm some like establishment shill because I haven't been banned from YouTube yet. I regularly get videos taken down, and right now Frim Guy gets to get taken down. Bye, Frim Guy. So that was fun. You talk bad about my liver and gallbladder flush. Bye, dude. Okay, so now let's go over things that actually do really, really increase bile dumping. So first, we use flesh niacin here. Kelsey gave me this study. She pulled it up, and she wanted to show how it compared to magnesium sulfate. So we don't really want to take a bunch of magnesium sulfate because sulfur slows detox. And taking 100 grams of magnesium sulfate is a lot of sulfate. Okay? So we don't really, do tons of fat, and we don't do tons of magnesium sulfate. So, niacin, flush niacin. We never use nicotinamide. We never use niacinamide. We never use anything other than nicotinic acid, aka flush niacin. Now, if you see here, it says sodium nicotinate. Sodium nicotinate. This is flush. This is nicotinic acid bound to sodium. Kind of like what they were finding in the gallstones was potassium oleate or magnesium oleate. These things can bind together. So nicotinate and nicotinic acid can bind to sodium. This is flush niacin just bound to a sodium molecule. And these are fine. We're going to be actually, this is what's going to be in the Niasodas. I don't know if I mentioned, I think I mentioned we're going to be bringing out Kelsey's Niasoda. I think I said that. We're going to be bringing back Kelsey's Niasoda, which has sodium, which it's got nicotinic acid and sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, and potassium bicarbonate and magnesium carbonate. And these are going to react in the water to form sodium nicotinate, potassium nicotinate, and magnesium nicotinate. Okay. So people out there are, so why do we not think that we need to do liver and gallbladder flushes to get bile flowing? Well, first of all, as you've just seen, it doesn't get rid of gallstones. The very reason people are doing it, it's not getting rid of gallstones. And those aren't gallstones coming out. That's it. So maybe somebody feels better from it. I already explained how somebody could feel better from it. You're dumping a bunch of bile. You're crapping your brains out with a bunch of bile because you took a laxative and you stored up some bile for 12 hours. And you took something that caused you to dump bile, and you took something that caused you to forcefully diarrhea yourself. That's what it is. Let's just be blunt. If you want to do that, I don't have 2 days to sit around and crap myself. Emma, telling me what to do is not a good approach. I don't deal well with people who tell me what to do. So let's go into this niacin thing. So we use niacin on a daily basis, which has been shown to fix things like leaky gut that bile causes and other things like that. So it's helping to fix the very root causes of why toxic bile is leaking into the blood. So this was a guy, pay attention to this. This was a guy, they gave an IV. So the collected samples of, I believe this is, I don't know if they have this in there. Let me see. A rephus tube was passed into the duodenum under fluoroscopic control in its extremity connected with a volumetric drainage bottle. So they went into the, oh, sorry, I got to share my tab. Sorry, here it is. The cholagogic and choleretic effect of sodium nicotinate. Let me go over these definitions real quick first for you. Cholagogue, promoting the discharge of bile from the system. So that is a bile dump. Choleretic is making more bile. So you guys hear me when I say these things. I say there's like making more bile and dumping more bile. They are different things. Making more bile is choleretic. Dumping more bile is cholagogue or cholagogic or however you want to say it. So let me get back in there. Oh, I didn't share my screen on those. So, well, we already went over them. So they passed, I'm guessing they went up through their rear end and put a tube into their gallbladder, basically, I believe, or into the duodenum. And they were measuring how much bile was coming out. Okay. The collected samples revealed a concentration of bilirubin and biliary salts in the range of normal values. The total volume of bile collected was of 220 to 270 cc's, a figure much higher than the 50 to 110 cc's usually obtained with the stimulation by means of hypertonic magnesium sulfate solutions. 30 milligrams of IV sodium nicotinate, 30 milligrams. Doubled, more than doubled the amount of bile dumped by drinking glasses of Epsom salts. Now, what do you think is going to fix more over time? Doing a liver gallbladder flush once a month? Or if you take some flush niacin daily to the amount you tolerate, and you are increasing your bile production and dumping drastically every day. See, we are doing things that do what this does. And do you realize that when you take lots of fat, do you know why we have bile, right? People say, well, you have bile to absorb fat. So the bile is getting absorbed with the fat. If you need bile to absorb fat, that means the bile is getting absorbed with the fat. So the more fat you eat, the more bile you reabsorb. The bile doesn't just sit in your gut and be like, oh, here, let me push you in, little fat molecule. No, it goes with it. So you're trying to do a big old bile dump. You're not eating any fat for like 12 hours or however long. I remember people saying it was a 3-day like apple juice. That's what I tried to do. I tried to do some 3-day apple juice fast because I read about it. I tried it. By the middle of the second day, I would drink a glass of apple juice and I would crap apple juice in like 10 minutes. Like go try it. Go try just drinking apple juice. That's the only thing you eat. Eventually you will just crap apple juice. It comes right out. It just goes in your stomach. Your stomach's like, and then you just crap it out. So, I don't remember if I finished the cleanse. I might have just called it there and then did the magnesium. Yeah, I did it. I did the olive oil and the Epsom salts, and I just crapped a bunch, and I was like, whatever. So I didn't do it again. So Emma, I've done it. But now we have flush niacin. And we're making and producing more bile all the time. Why don't we do it on a steady basis? Rather than now the idea here's the other idea about the flush actually flushing out gallstones. Oh, Emma said she also never got past the apple juice. There you go, Emma. Yeah, that apple juice diarrhea is something. But think of this idea. So if these were actually gallstones, which they are not, they are too big. They are not made of the stuff gallstones are. They're not coming out on ultrasound. You're not passing gallstones with this method. What makes you think that you could just drink a bunch of grapefruit juice or olive juice or apple juice and like dissolve stones enough that they break away and fall out? Like, why would you, if you were actually blocked, why would you want to try to do a massive bile dump? Wouldn't that be dangerous? Of the stone actually staying stuck? And then now you've put all this pressure behind it. Do you know how to blow out tubes? Like plumbing, pipes? You want to blow out pipes? Just block them and build up the pressure behind them. Isn't that how you blow out pipes? And your bile ducts are basically pipes. So if we were actually blowing out with pressure gallstones, we would see lots more people who didn't break out the gallstones going to the hospital from this. They're not going to the hospital because they are painlessly passing them because they're not doing anything that was in the liver or gallbladder at all other than dumping bile. Now, I'm going to say this again. If you want to do the liver and gallbladder flush, I don't care. Do it. Some people say they feel better from it. That's fine. Some people take frog poison called combo into their arm and they puke for hours and they say they feel better. That's great. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to recommend it. And then they keep doing it over and over and over again. And they just keep thinking they're going to get better and better each time. And then they probably just get stuck at some point because they're not getting much less toxic because their diet is still a problem. What do we fix first? We fix the diet. What do we see in our testimonials? We see this stuff gets better. There's like a guy on Twitter who brags that he's done like 50 gallbladder liver cleanses. He does not look well to me. He looks like a chronic undertype. He's a dude who does a bunch of yoga. So that's basically what I got. Yeah. Oh, wait, I started myself on the other channel. There we go. Okay, so now, so again, you want to shoot coffee up your butt and do coffee enemas? Go ahead. It does cause you to dump some bile from the coffee, which is a toxin. That's why you dump bile from it. It triggers a toxin dump because it's toxic itself. And then you crap out that bile. That's what a coffee enema does. You want to do a liver or gallbladder flush. Just don't delude yourself into thinking they're stones coming out. They're not. Maybe you feel better from it. Great. Great. I'm not recommending them. If I won't do something, I'm not going to recommend it to my people, and I'm not going to do it. So, y'all out there want to do it? Go ahead. It is not blowing out any stones. It is not blowing out sludge. It is not blowing out anything. You are pooping out soapstones. And that's the only logical answer. And that's what the evidence shows. So, okay. So let's get to the super chats. Joe. Let me stop sharing that. There we go. So let me go back and look for the super chats. We got a couple of them. Oh, we're already at noon. Okay, so MT says, well, wait, Joe, was that the top one? I think so. Yeah, MT. Okay. Thoughts on candida and how to remove it. What steps would you do in regards to getting rid of it for a person who's had an overgrowth for 10 years? Thanks. Okay, so first, we do things very differently here. We are not going to remove candida. We're going to make it so it's not there anymore, yes. But you want to move away from the idea of trying to kill things. This is why candida programs don't work and people get the candida back and back. And I have a family member who's bought into the parasite fad, and her naturopathic doctor up in Washington is like, oh, you still got the parasites. And she just keeps limiting her diet more and more. And she keeps getting skinnier and skinnier. And she keeps getting Herxheimer reactions and reactions to food more and more because she's getting weaker and weaker and more toxic and more deficient because she thinks she's got a parasite infection that may or may not be there. And she does don't get me, I mean, MDs, naturopathic doctors, they're all out there pushing the same tired old basic tropes of disease. Could she have a parasite? Sure. Is she wasting away? Sure. Would it be better for us to fix her toxicities? Okay, first, parasites only thrive on sick tissue. People may not like it that if I say they want to be just like, oh, I'm a victim of parasites or candida, whatever. I'm just a victim and they attacked me and they latched on. And why don't they spread to everybody else? Because everybody has, this is MT, this is just ideas. This is like concepts. Why doesn't everybody's got candida inside them? Everybody. Why doesn't everybody have giant candida problems? Because it is it's the soil in your garden and what's in it and what's not that either grows things or doesn't. So if your candida is growing out of control, something is feeding it. Why does everybody not have parasites? Because not everybody creates the right sick gut tissue or sick liver for them to live on. That's it. Parasites require a specific environment to live in. Candida requires a specific environment to thrive in or to grow out of control. We are supposed to have it around. It's supposed to be there. It's just not supposed to be growing out of control. So what do we do? Well, it's really just the Love Your Liver program. And then we want to make sure, I mean, Kelsey's got research showing flush niacin is anti-candida. Flush niacin helps detox. We've got studies, zinc is anti-candida. Selenium's anti-candida. Molybdenum's anti-candida. Candida loves aldehydes. Molybdenum and selenium are necessary as parts of the ALDH system, and niacin is the energy to run the ALDH system. So then we stop putting in toxic metals and other aldehydes and other things that these pathogens, whatever you want to call them, these things that are growing out of control that they feed on. And we regularly have people, I mean, we have lots of people. How many of you here in the chat, if you want to say it, you thought you had parasites? You were sure you had parasites until you did the program, or Lyme or whatever. You thought you had an infection, and then you did the program and you got better, and we never treated the infection. And we didn't try to kill anything. What did we do? We fixed the toxicities and we fixed the deficiencies. Now, this requires more work on your part. This is not just take some oregano oil and eat no carbs and your candida will go away. No, it won't. Everybody knows that it comes back as soon as you start eating normal food. They never get rid of it. Like when you get deep into the candida loop, those people never get rid of it. They just keep going on the same loop. It's like the oxalate people where they obsess about oxalates, but they don't realize that oxalates go through the ALDH system. They never fix their ALDH system. And then they get more and more sensitive to oxalates over time, and they have to eat less and less of them. They have to obsess about them more and more to not have their symptoms. And then anytime they feel bad, they go, I'm oxalate dumping. No, you're bile dumping, which might have oxalates in it, but your bile problem is not getting better, and you're taking things like B6 and extra calcium and other things that are making you worse. That's why you're getting worse. Anti-candida herbs, anti-parasite herbs, and meds, all these things, they damage the liver, which then makes your bile more toxic, which creates a better environment for parasites and candida and whatever else to grow and thrive. We starve them, not by starving them with a diet necessarily. If somebody came on the program and they said, I have candida real bad. If I eat any carbs, I have problems. And I say, okay, for now, don't eat what causes you problems. So it's not the candida diet of you can't have mushrooms and you can't have vinegar and you can't have and they just list off all these things that they say stimulate candida growth. Here's what I would say to somebody. I'd say, try to look at the program, look at what we eat. And if you know that there's things on there that you don't get along with that aggravate your symptoms, don't eat them. But if there's something on there that they say not to eat, but you feel fine, go ahead and eat it. It's not causing you problems. And then, so we avoid the things that cause problems. We avoid putting in so much toxicity. We start reconstituting or restoring, especially those very important minerals and flush niacin and lactoferrin. And then the candida, the environment, I call it the garden of the gut. The garden is not suitable to grow these things anymore. And so they die off. And we have people sometimes report seeing what looks like parasites in their stool for a while. And how do we know? How are we guessing that it's some sort of infection in their gut? And then it goes away because it goes away. Like it stops. They see it for a while. I had it. I know Hope's in the chat. She had it. Some of you others may have had it where you saw like white specks in your stool for a while and then they stopped. Now, am I going to claim that I know those are parasites? No. I don't know that they're parasites. They came out for a while. Like you start the program, you start getting better, and then all of a sudden you might start seeing them for a little while, and then they go away. Could it have been parasites? Sure. Did we have to do anything special to make them go away? No, we just did the program. Just work the program. So, yeah, and there used to be a lab, parasitetesting.com used to allow you to send in samples of what you thought were parasites. And they would analyze it and tell you if what you sent them was actually a parasite. Like you could dig through your poop or just send them a poop sample. I mean, you could do a parasite testing on your poop, but if you actually found something that you thought was a parasite, you used to be able to send it into them. They don't do it anymore. I don't know how to get things analyzed. If you want to find out if it's a parasite or not, I don't know how to get things analyzed. Maybe they stopped doing it because they got too many things of people thinking this is a parasite and it wasn't a parasite. Like gallstones that you pooped out after you drank a pint of olive oil and a quarter cup of Epsom salts and you crapped your brains out. Maybe they just got tired of doing that. They're like, this is not furthering us at all. We're just analyzing things from delusional people who think they're parasite infested and they're not. So, well, Will asked here, I just want to go over this real quick. I'll come back to the candida thing. Will was saying you got to dissolve the stones somehow to get them out, right? Possible to use sonic appliances to remove them. Yeah, the sonic stuff can be pretty rough. There can be quite a bit of bruising when you read about when they're breaking up kidney stones with like ultrasound waves, or they were doing it for gallstones for a while. They're sending in serious vibrations. Yeah, they damaged kidneys and they've damaged livers before and stuff like that. So I'm not against it if it would work well, but people are getting so fragile and they're so inflammatory from all the crap they've got inside of them that it doesn't work so well. Here's the idea. If you could make the stones, you could dissolve them. If you could make them, if you created the environment that could make them, you could reverse that. So we know here, if you have calcium-based stones, which is most of the stones are calcium, what are you probably missing? Magnesium. What do you probably have too much of in your system? Vitamin A, vitamin D. Maybe you're eating too much calcium by suckling cows and, taking calcium supplements. Copper toxicity will increase calcification. A lack of potassium. Well, what we know is when calcium goes high, potassium goes low. So is it that the calcium lowered the potassium, or could low potassium raise calcium? Could go both ways. Definitely high calcium will lower potassium. So we have all of these things contributing to just the calcium overload. So if we reverse that simply by getting, let's say, enough magnesium, like in our magnesium lotion, you could, in theory, I showed that one paper where they were dissolving calcifications in people with magnesium alone. So that's how we would dissolve actual stones. We reverse the environment that created them. So anyway, so candida, that's what the big things would be, like flesh niacin, selenium, zinc, molybdenum, all the stuff that's in keystone minerals. And then following the diet to, getting enough soluble fiber, using binders like charcoal as necessary, meat, the low toxin diet live stream would be a good place to start. I forget what number that was, but the low toxin diet basics live stream would be a great place to start. I think we're at 108 viewers right now. Wow. This is like, I think that might be the highest I've ever seen it. So thank you for that super chat, MT. Thank you for that. Austin says experiences with clients lowering thyroid meds. Okay. Well, we regularly, sorry, that focus went all funky for a second there. We do regularly have people. So important thing. Do I lower their thyroid meds? No, I don't. Do my practitioners lower their thyroid meds? No, they don't. Any people who are working with me or our practitioners, they're in charge of their medications. We are not in charge of their medications. The doctor who put them, the person is in charge of the medications. Always remember that. If you are the patient, you are in charge of your medications. You do not have to do what anybody tells you to do. Okay? Now, you don't want to do anything. Oh, yeah. Thanks for the super chat, Austin. Thank you very much for that. But you don't have to do what anybody tells you. That includes medications. Now, you don't want to be dumb about it. If you're already on a medication and it's something you got to wean off of, you better know that. If it's a medication that you can't break in half because it's like time release and you're breaking it in half, you may cause yourself problems. So you want to work with hopefully the practitioner who put you on them is open to the idea of you actually getting better and getting off of it. Not all of them are. They're just like, oh no, you're on it forever. A lot of them will say that before they're going to put you on thyroid hormone. They'll be like, you're going to be on this for good. And you're like, well, okay. Like a lot of people, they get on TRT that some of them don't realize that like TRT's for good, assuming you're not doing anything to fix it, like we do. You're on it for good. They got a customer for life, semaglutide. I saw some BS the other day. They were trying to claim that these GLP-1 receptor agonists like semaglutide, that the weight loss was going to stay after you got off of it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like the biggest lie I've ever seen. That whole GLP-1 thing is like the biggest fraud I've ever seen. And they're already talking about people getting Ozempic butt, which is where so basically they're not exercising. They're not doing anything to keep their muscle. And they are taking something that is basically making them starve themselves by not giving them any appetite. And they're wasting away. They're getting sarcopenic, which means they're just wasting away, and especially their muscles are wasting away. Ozempic butt, you can go look it up. So now everybody's like, oh, if you're going to do semaglutide, you got to exercise. You got to exercise anyway. You don't have to take semaglutide. You do need to move your body to be healthy. Now, if you're really sick, like the testimonial that we were going over earlier, if you're really sick and you can't exercise or you can only do very little, then that's all you do until you get better. So let's go over that with like thyroid meds. What do we do first? We start getting people better. So if somebody comes to me, or as I've taught my practitioners and the people in the seminar, if somebody comes to you and they're on a thyroid med, sometimes people come in and they say, well, I got put on this thyroid med and it never did anything for me. Like, I don't feel any better on it. They might say, I didn't feel bad when I got put on it, but my doctor said my thyroid hormones were too low. So he put me on it. And then now my thyroid hormones are better, but I don't feel any different. Well, if you didn't feel any different from getting on thyroid hormone, there wasn't much of a problem to fix. So with somebody like that, I might tell them to consider, I might ask them, have you ever just stopped taking it? And if they say yes, and I say, did you feel any different? If they're like, no, I'd be like, well, let's just not even bother. Let's not give your body more stuff to process, because your body has to process every hormone and every medication and every supplement and everything you put in it. So we don't want to put in tons of stuff, because then you're just overloading your liver. Your liver has to process everything. So then we would get into, let's say somebody's on thyroid hormone. One of the questions I ask them is, have you ever been put on too much thyroid hormone and felt like what hyperthyroid symptoms are for you? Oftentimes I'll get oh yeah, my doctor did that to me once. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. So think of hyperthyroid as the opposite of hypo. So if hypo is like constipation and feeling cold and all that stuff, so hyper can be things like hot flushes and diarrhea. There's the feeling of like, what's the term? Tired but wired. Hypothyroid will be like they're wired, but they're tired at the same time. So that's a hyperthyroid symptom. Feeling hot all the time. That can be a hyper. I'm not saying these things can happen with other things. So I'm not saying, so they just knew when they got put on too much thyroid hormone, they felt that way. So I say, okay, I need you to remember those symptoms. Remember those. Because as we start fixing the root causes of your thyroid issues, what's going to happen is, so you're on a med right now and your thyroid's too low, right? So as we start fixing the person, their thyroid here is going to start coming up to normal, and now they're over medicated. You can actually get your body to make more hormones even while you're on a hormone. People don't talk about this out there because they don't do it for people. We do it. So then you've got somebody who's over medicated, and then they get hyperthyroid symptoms because their base thyroid function has improved. So we wait for that. We wait for their thyroid to start recovering. We talk to people about, here's what hyperthyroid symptoms are. I have people go look them up. I have them write them down. I say, know that this is probably coming. If we're doing things right and we are healing your thyroid, root causes, you will recover, your thyroid hormone will improve, and you will end up being over-medicated, and you will be hyperthyroid from medications. And then usually, if it were me and I were dropping on thyroid hormone and I had improved my situation, I might drop my thyroid hormone by half if I started getting hyperthyroid symptoms. If one is over-medicated and they start dropping their thyroid hormone, they would, within a day or two, they would notice that the symptoms that they were having are a lot less because they're a lot less hyperthyroid because they're not taking as much medication. And then as things go on, then we would, at various points, they would consider lowering their dose more. And at some point, they would have to decide whether they were going to get off the medication or not. And we have seen multiple people remove themselves from thyroid medication when all of medicine out there, even naturopathic medicine out there, is like, once you're hypothyroid, you're pretty much screwed. You're on the medication forever. And we're like, no. Nope. Doesn't have to be that way. Like if you don't have a thyroid, you got a problem. But the other thing about thyroid hormone you got to remember is, so T4 is the less active thyroid hormone, and T3 is the more active thyroid hormone. T3 is, what I learned in school was T3 is 10 times more potent in terms of thyroid hormone stuff than T4. And then reverse T3 is like 1/10 as effective as T4. Where does T4 get converted to T3 mostly in your body? In the liver. What do we try to fix here? The liver. So even if we just got your liver to run better and your liver could convert the less active T4 into the more active T3, then you could feel less hypothyroid, even if we just got the conversion better by making your liver better. So, I mean, my experiences with it are, and then the other thing is if somebody were lowering their thyroid meds, if somebody lowers it too much or they're not ready, probably within about 3 days, they're going to know it. They're going to be like, oh, they weren't ready. They weren't there's been people on the program who are just like, don't make this mistake, folks. Just because you start on the Love Your Liver program or you start on a low vitamin A diet doesn't mean all your shit is fixed right away. It doesn't mean that. Just because you got on the right diet, people will be like, oh, I got on the Love Your Liver program and I stopped my thyroid med. And I'm like, what? Why did you do that? Nobody told you to do that. Don't just jump off of things. Oh, Joe, it was the Low Toxin Diet Basics was the show. There was that one. Sorry, just catching up with Joe on popping those links on the screen. So people, let's say a classic example. We get somebody with diabetes on the program, type 2. And they come on and they're just like, well, I'm on the low vitamin A diet now. And Dr. Smith says oats and beans and bananas and whatever are fine. And I just start eating them. And then they start coming in and they go, well, my blood sugar is going crazy. And I'm like, you aren't ready yet. Like you just took off your cast and now you're trying to run. No. You may not tolerate that many carbs at the start because you are still toxic. It is going to take us months to years to fix this problem so that you can have your insulin sensitivity back. It doesn't just go away because you got on the program. Like just because somebody gets on the program doesn't mean candida goes poof. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So if you were doing things before the program that seemed to help, like let's say a diabetic kind of not eating too many carbs or not eating too many of a certain type of carbs, was helping their blood sugar control, I would say keep doing that. And as you get better, you can start introducing more. Just like as your leg gets better out of the cast, first you could, you're doing physical therapy, and then eventually you're walking, and then eventually you're running. And then or you're walking, and then you're lifting weights, and then you're running or whatever. But it's like a rehab process. So just because you're on the program doesn't mean you're fixed. That's a really important thing. Don't get overconfident too soon and then be like, well, the program didn't work. I quit my med and all of a sudden I still felt bad. No, nobody promised you that. This is not just you, Austin. This is everybody. I have this a lot with diabetics. But I just had a consult the other day with someone who was saying their blood sugar used to spike to like, was it 140 or 160 after certain meals? And now since they've been doing the program, she's like, it's hitting 105 and it's like nothing. I said, that's amazing. So it will come. It will come. You do need to fix these things first. This is a marathon, not a sprint. If you want to do this and really get better, you're not planning on a weekend cleanse. You're not planning on a month-long detox. You're planning on months to years. You will see improvements along the way. All along the way, you'll see improvements. But the oldest thing you've had, the thing you've had the longest, is probably going to be the last thing to go away. And that's just the way it is because it's the deepest seated thing. It's the deepest seated toxicity, deficiency combo in your system. So, that is, let me see. Christine, another testimonial to the liver and gallbladder flush. She did one a couple decades ago. It was super hard and disgusting to drink a cup of olive oil. Yes, I passed soft, green, oily blobs the next day. Soft, green, oily blobs. Gosh, I wonder what those were. Now, could there be bile? But see, this is the thing. I used to think, okay, so they were saying in those papers, right? Yellowish to greenish. And part of me is going, well, that sounds like bile, right? Those are like, or vitamin A or the colors of bile or whatever. And then they're saying they analyze these soapstones and there's no bilirubin in them and there's no cholesterol in them and there's no calcium in them and they melt like oil, like butter would, right? They just had to heat them up to 40 degrees Celsius. 40 degrees Celsius. 100 is boiling. I mean, 40 degrees Celsius is what? Like somebody out there who knows Celsius, is that like 135 degrees or something? Is that like 130 something? No, so that, yeah, Emma was asking, are they taking any bile with them? So why are they green? Why are they yellow? I don't know. But from what those analyses said, it doesn't sound like it was bile. They said it was 75% of them was the oil, basically. What's the other 25%? I don't know. But yeah, so we have people saying it's super hard. It's not fun. One guy on the network said you got to basically not plan on not doing anything for 2 days after that. Oh, Joe, 40 degrees is only 104. Okay, 40 degrees is only 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So they were melting these stones at barely above body temperature. So they were enough. The body temperature was low enough for the stones to form, but then when they took them up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit, they melted. Sometimes, I mean, I know the alternative crowd's going to be like, oh, you're a mainstream shill and all this stuff. And no, I'm just like, no, I will call out anybody. The flush is not getting rid of gallstones. Those are not gallstones you're pooping out. They never were. They never will be. It might help you feel better. Do I want to do it? No. Am I going to recommend it? No. Same thing as before. You want to stick coffee enemas up your butt? Go ahead. I'm not going to recommend it. You want to drink oil and lemon juice and Epsom salts? Fine. Do it. I'm not going to recommend it. You can do whatever you want. This is the key thing here. You can do whatever you want. If you come to me afterwards and you effed yourself up doing things that I don't recommend, I'm just going to kind of smile and chuckle and be like, there's a reason why I don't do that. Sorry. There's a lot of people out there who think they're like going to outsmart the program and find some magical piece that I missed. And I'm like, first of all, you're not dealing with 2,000 people. trying to manage 2,000 people to not hurt themselves in the day of people being unable to read instructions. So I don't do higher risk things. I also don't want to hear about people, soiling their entire carpet with explosive diarrhea. That's just not I don't want to be remembered as that guy. So, okay. Okay, yeah, I'll get to the, okay, so Shannon, so thank you for that super chat, Austin. Shannon says, I'm pooping once a day and waking up to pee 2 to 3 times a night. I'm on the LYL for almost 4 months. What can I do to guide detox away from the kidneys to the poop? So first of all, you need to watch the hydration video and do that. The hydration video, I just talked to somebody, actually the same person who had the blood sugar stuff. She was saying she watched the hydration video, she fixed her water intake, and she went from peeing 2 to 3 times a night to 1 time a night. There is a reason the hydration video is so high up in the order of adding stuff. Fixing your water intake will fix how much you pee. It will help your energy levels if you're over drinking. It will, if you're peeing clear, Shannon, or very close to clear, you're simply drinking too much water. If you're drinking water before you go to bed, there's a reason why you're peeing at night. You can't hold. Oh, Joe, the hydration video is in the Love Your Liver program. It's not public access. Although multiple people have told me that the hydration video was worth the price of the entire year access to the Love Your Liver program. That's how important the hydration video is. And those of you who know the soup analogy, it really helps. So that would be the first thing. Then making sure that you're not pushing detox too hard, because if you are pushing detox too hard, you will produce and dump more bile. And if you're in the program for only 4 months, you're still leaking plenty of it. And then so you can irritate your kidneys and your gallbladder with toxins in your pee. So if you have toxic pee that's got toxic bile in it, then you're going to pee more at night because your bladder is going to be like, I don't like this. Get rid of this. I don't care if you have to wake up. Go pee this toxic stuff out. The next thing would be magnesium. Magnesium has been shown to help a lot with waking up at night to pee. Some people have told me that the magnesium lotion will stop them from having to wake up in the middle of the night. So I would work on magnesium and the hydration video. And then, just not drinking too much water in the evening. You may want to try not drinking much after dinner in terms of any liquids. A lot of people today just over drink. And if you're thirsty all the time, there can be a bunch of causes of that. This always sounds funny, but you could be eating too much salt. You could be eating too little salt. You could be eating too much potassium or supplementing too much potassium. You could be drinking too much water, or you could be drinking too little water. Any of those can create thirst, or also what some people call a dry mouth. Now, can I diagnose which one of those you're doing over the chat? No. But if as an example, let's say we have somebody and they're like, everybody tells me I eat way too much salt. They're like, they say I salt my food way too much. But then you can be like, well, that's a pretty obvious. You're probably salting your food too much if everybody's noticing that you're like a salt fiend. That's a pretty easy one. And then for people who don't salt their food ever, they're probably not getting enough. That's pretty easy. If you're peeing dark and smelly all the time, you're probably not drinking enough water. If you're peeing clear or close to clear all the time, probably drinking too much. And then potassium is something that you just have to, if you're doing a bunch of potassium foods and a bunch of potassium supplements and you're feeling like you're thirsty all the time, cut that dose in half and see if the drinking goes away. And then if you're constantly drinking, you're going to constantly pee. So that hydration video is really, I would go and review that and then work on your magnesium and then make sure you're not pushing detox too hard with soluble fiber or whatever. And then, hope that helps. Okay, so Will did a super chat. Another testimonial impromptu. See below. Thank you. Will, he said, I start feeling anxious and paranoid with thyroid pain when I go off diet and eat any fast food. A day or two back on turkey, beans, and rice fixes it. Don't gain weight no matter how much I eat. And he says on a good diet, but gain weight even in a deficit, a caloric deficit on fast food. Low A is the way. So yeah, he's saying, actually, Grant, I think, just wrote an article on obesity over on the blog, ggeneru.blog, about calories in, calories out. I always joke about, like, people know that they could just take more thyroid hormone and lose weight. And I go, so how does that figure into the calories in, calories out? And then people will say, well, it increased your calories out. And I go, so hormones change your calories in, calories out then, right? And so it's not all calories in, calories out now, is it? Because you can change that with hormones. And every guy knows, any guy who knows anything about testosterone knows that you can, if you're on testosterone, you can eat more garbage crap food and you will not gain as much body fat, if any. So hormones shift the whole landscape of everything. Problem is underneath it, probably not such great things are still going on that cause the hormone deficiency in the first place. Always remember, if you're going to go on hormones, any hormones, male hormones, female hormones, thyroid hormones, whatever, if you didn't used to have a hormone problem and now you do, something broke along the way. Something's not working. Hormones are the top of the pyramid. Right? Oh my God, pyramid, Illuminati. Hormones are the top of the pyramid. Hormones are built on everything below it. Food, sleep, rest, minerals. I was about to say vitamins, and then I'm like, vitamins, bullshit. So, but hormones are built on everything below it. So they are the pinnacle, right? So if you take hormones as a Band-Aid or a crutch, and you don't fix anything below it, all of that problem is probably still festering. And maybe because you feel better, you ignore those problems even more. And then over time, the feeling you got from the hormones when you first got on them, which is, these are so amazing. I can't believe everybody's not on. I can't stand hearing that. I can't believe everybody's not on these things. Now, that's the way you're supposed to feel if you're healthy. So they ignore the problems. The problems fester. As an example, zinc and testosterone. You need zinc to make testosterone. Very straightforward. So if, let's say, a guy has low testosterone, he gets on zinc, or he gets on testosterone therapy, TRT, and he feels great. Sex life is great. Workouts are great. Losing body fat without even trying. He's like, this is amazing. This is it. I'm on these for good. And then over time, so zinc impacts, 200 or 400 pathways in the human body. So over time, he starts feeling worse and worse in various ways. Maybe he's still got the function going on from the TRT. Maybe that starts fading too, most likely. And then he starts, doc, why do I not feel as good as I used to? Can you bump me up? And the doctor will eventually get to the point where the doctor says, I keep raising your testosterone levels. I can't, or I won't bump you up anymore. And the guy's like, but I don't feel like I used to. Well, that's because all the festering problems that the entire pyramid is built on were not addressed. They kept getting worse. And now trying to put the top on the pyramid when the rest of the pyramid is falling apart, it doesn't work anymore. That's just the way it is. Taking hormones is like, do not pass go, do not collect $200, just jump to that next spot. Let's just ignore all the broken stuff and just give you the magic juice. And then they wonder why the magic juice wears off after a while. Kind of like a duration paradox thing. Works in the start, and then over time, it just fizzles out. So, let me just see if anything else popped up in the chat. I mean, gosh, we had 108 people at one point. We still got 94 in here. That's amazing, guys. So I'll throw it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. But remember what YouTube loves. The reason YouTube exists is to get watch time. So if you want to help the channel watch more videos. That's why they're going to promote this to more people. So we're getting close. Hopefully within a month, we're going to break 10,000 subscribers. It's slow going. We get about 200 new ones a month, but yeah, so going through the links. So nutritiondetective.com, that is where you can go for all our supplements and the testing and consultation packages with me or other practitioners. You can find me on the Love Your Liver program. The Love Your Liver program is part of the testing and consultation packages for people who decide to go that way. People who buy a testing and consultation package get lifetime membership to the Love Your Liver program. The Love Your Liver program itself is a do-it-yourself program. So there's 2,000 people in there commenting and helping each other, and I'm actually figuring out a way to have even more help in there right now. But they're all helping each other in there, and you can get tons of questions answered. So it's a do-it-yourself, but it's also a do-it-yourself with like a big group of people who are all going after the same goals. And then you get to see those testimonials posted like I went over today here. So the Love Your Liver program is a do-it-yourself. That's at members.nutritiondetective.com. And then if you want to find me on social media, I'm usually, the main place I hang out is Twitter as NutriDetect, because they wouldn't let me use my whole name on there. Anyway, that's it. So we're going to go and do, I'm going to go do my inner circle inside the network now, the private Q&A for the people who pay a bit extra to hear me uncensored. So anyway, oh yeah, Joe posted the episodes 53 and 71, the basics of toxic bile theory. If you're new here and you want to know more about toxic bile theory, then those are the videos you want to start with. I went over earlier, Joe, you don't have to post these again, but I talked about the low toxin diet basics. I forget which live stream that is. That's another one you might want to do. That goes over the basics of the diet stuff that we do. And people have said that if you watch enough live streams, you can get most of the Love Your Liver program from doing it. You just got to put in the time, and it's free. If you want the information like a fire hose and you don't want to wait, or you don't have all the time to watch all those videos, then that's the Love Your Liver program, which I'm working on redoing right now. So yeah, that's about it. So, for those of you who are waiting and wondering about the new secret supplement that I've been doing, it is still going extremely well. There are a couple of people who are kind of my early experimenters. They're like I was thinking, should I call them test dummies or not? I didn't. No, they're like, they test things, and they're willing self-experimenters. And so I let them know what it was. And I have a couple people doing it now. Kelsey's one of them, and they're all reporting very positive things. So I'm doing my blood tests and I'm doing blood tests and urine tests and a hair test. Could you tell I took my hair sample today? And I'm going to be doing blood tests and, like I said, urine tests to show that this new secret supplement works in the way that we believe it does. We have the symptoms already to show that it's amazing. And then we're going to get the test to show that there's no concerns about it and that it's doing what we expect. So we want to show that both the symptoms improve and that what we're saying it's going to do actually happens, as opposed to pooping out soapstones and then calling them gallstones, to wrap all that up together now, right? We want to show it in both how people feel and in what we say is actually happening. So that's that. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Hope you all enjoyed that. We'll see you next time. Bye now.